Got it? Thumbs up. I'll call the meeting of the Tipton Common Council to order. If you would, please rise so we can start with the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for joining us this evening. If you would, roll call from my left.
Sophie Hubbard, City Council District 1.
Rick Rippey, City Council at Large.
Ken Amon, District 2.
Rick Chandler, City Council District 3, serving as this year's council president.
Tom Dozel, Mayor.
Tamara Clark, Clerk Treasurer.
Thank you for joining us. You've got the minutes of the last meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes from the January 9th, 2023 meeting without amendment.
Second.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Ken. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. We're at amendment of our agenda. I would like to add, Chief Stout is with us this evening to recognize some very important people and occurrences with the fire department. I mean, with the police department.
Thank you.
Yes,
If you would.
I've got this.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you for amending the agenda. I appreciate it. I presented this at the board of works this morning, and I wanted to come in front of the council as well and just recognize a few things. One, you've got the stats there for the year, but I kind of want to go a little farther with that information. Some of the officers are here tonight. There were a lot here during the board of works meeting today, and I really appreciate that. Just a little end of the year review. So if you can just bear with me, I'll get through this. If you have any questions for any of them here or any questions after I'm done, please feel free to ask. Recap on the 2022 calendar year for the Tipton Police Department. It was loaded with accomplishments and successes. To close the year out, the Tipton Police Department employed 12 full-time sworn officers, 1 full-time sworn K-9, 1 part-time sworn officer, and 3 civilian staff members. Tipton Police Department finished 2022 with 5,030 calls for service, 156 criminal arrests, 48 which involved felonies, 892 traffic stops, 1,056 hours of training, 126 calls for community service officer, and 242 hours of overtime funded by the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute. Here are just a few things. Public Safety Administrative Coordinator Debbie Frazier celebrated her 31st year at the Tipton Police Department. Debbie is an integral part of the police department, starting as a meter maid, then a dispatcher, and working her way up to handling the department's financial reports, budgets, payroll, ordering supplies and equipment, and ensuring that the department operates efficiently. I mentioned this morning, and I think I've told every one of you, Debbie's the heartbeat of that department. If she wasn't there, we'd fall apart. Any one of us can go to her anytime. You know, she's my work wife. My wife knows that. I love Debbie to death, and she's just an amazing woman. TPD hired Officer Bill Tipton. He came to us as a lateral over 5 years of law enforcement experience. He stepped right into the department, messed with the staff, currently wonderful, and it's been a huge asset to the department already within his first year. Assistant Chief Dave Lacey, Captain David Nichols, and Detective Robert Newmaker taught in the DARE program to over 70 fifth grade students enrolled at Tipton Community School Corporation. All the students graduated and were awarded a pizza party and a demonstration put on by Taz and K-9 Sergeant Brad Robbins. There's 2 other people I'd like to mention during that. Matron Lee Stout and Morgan Smith at the Sheriff's Department. They plan and organize the event in the park and have a lot of behind the scenes within that program as well. Officer Michael Ferks became a certified CPR instructor and an AED instructor. Officer Ferks has been working with the Tipton County Health Department to provide quality training and user certification to students at Tipton Community School Corporation and employees of the Tipton Boys and Girls Club, as well as first responders in Tipton County. I was chosen to throw the first pitch out at Tipton High School baseball game for Public Safety Appreciation Day. No practice at all, right down the middle, and they asked me to continue the game, but I decided not to. School Resource Officer Dave Maddox was jointly nominated by his peers at Tifton Police Department and the school corporation, as well as supporters within the community, and awarded within the Indiana School Resource Officer Association. Officer Maddox was named Officer of the Year for Region 5. The award and dedication for exceptional work to keep the students and staff and visitors safe within Tifton Community School Corporation. I think you all are very well aware of Officer Maddox, and you mention his name to any student or any kid in the community, and they know who he is. There's no better officer that can be placed out of that school. Sergeant Brad Robbins and K9 Taz were invited to join Patty Spitler on Lifestyle Live, which is aired on Wish TV. The discussion revolved around the use of law enforcement canines and training that goes into building the successful canine teams. The interview ended with a demonstration of K9 Taz locating contraband on the Wish TV set. It was a very cool experience. I was fortunate enough to be able to go down with them and just to see the atmosphere there and the way that they treated Sergeant Robbins and Taz was amazing. Officer Grant Tansey and Officer Bill Tipton were customers of a lemonade stand on Betty Way. Several young entrepreneurs put on a lemonade stand and was vital in quenching the officer's thirst on a hot summer day. It's one big thing that I've always pushed since I've been in this position is community involvement. Downtown tis the season. They see kids out, stop. That little effect that those kids can remember is life changing sometimes. Officer Michael Ferks graduated all three phases of Traffic Crash Reconstruction School. Officer Ferks can now assist TPD and other agencies investigating traumatic traffic crashes that rise above the level of a basic property damage accident and require intense mathematical calculations to determine what occurred. We've never had a reconstructionist before. Any serious accidents, he can go out, give us the speeds, give us, if they break during the accident, it'll be a huge asset. Hopefully we don't have to use him much, but we have to if need be. TPD purchased a new department golf cart to be used in community events, as well as in the expectation for the new trail system coming to the area. The golf cart had its graphics affixed by Hoosier Sign Guy in Tifton and outfitted with emergency lights and siren by Sergeant Robbins and Assistant Chief Lacey. They spent several weeks of their own time off duty and on duty equipping that golf cart, and I was fortunate enough to drive it in the parade for the Pork Festival this year. I think it's going to be a great asset to the department. Community Service Officer Cheryl Emmert and Public Assistant Administrative Assistant Cheyenne Watson decorated the TP flower pot for the Main Street Association Flower Pot Christmas Challenge. They came in second place this year. Those girls, they came, they told me what they want to do. I said, do it. And they did an amazing job that they do every year, and it turned out really well. They won second place. Officer Brandon Leisure received a letter of commendation in his involvement in a juvenile case. During the investigation, Officer Leisure partnered with the Department of Child Services to remove 2 juveniles from the destructive home, which gave the juveniles a revived chance to grow in a loving home and become respected, responsible members of society. He was awarded this morning, actually. He did a great job. He went above and beyond that he didn't have to do, and potentially could have saved those kids' lives. And I'd heard that some officers had seen those kids recently, and they completely done 180. So that's a very important task that he did there. Sergeant Brad Robbins was named Criminal Enforcement Officer of the Year for the most arrest and awarded a certificate of appreciation for his dedication and service towards making Tifton a safer and more wholesome community. Officer Michael Ferks was named Traffic Enforcement Officer of the Year for the most citations. He was awarded a certificate of appreciation for his dedicated service to make Tifton a more wholesome community. A few weeks ago, we reported Captain Nichols had been awarded a grant through the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute for Report Management System. The grand total was upward of $105,000. Captain Nichols is leading the effort to update the records management system with Caliber Public Safety software. Captain Nichols is working with neighboring agencies and other local public safety entities to ensure a smooth transition. He did this on his own. I had him come speak at the last Board of Works meeting, and his presentation was spot on. I commend him for the hard work he put in for that. Assistant Chief Lacey, Captain Nichols, and Sergeant Robbins were tasked with selecting and designing the new Department Patrol uniform, which is this uniform here. It's a Blauer navy blue uniform that was selected, a new outer ballistic vest carry that is equipped with MOLLE, the webbing, for attachment points. The MOLLE allows the heavy equipment to be placed on the officer's chest instead of being on the officer's belt. This alone will help the overall improvement in health of the officers and prevent back and hip related injuries. Prior to, when we had everything on our belt, you're talking 20 plus pounds. We carry everything here now except for our gun and our taser. You can put your handcuffs on your belt still. They're not too heavy. You can put them up here. They're wonderful, a wonderful uniform. Let me see where I'm at here. Captain Nichols applied for another grant through the Indiana Department of Homeland Security to purchase new body-worn cameras. TPD's original Axon body-worn cameras were purchased in 2017, and through time and use, the body-worn cameras needed to be replaced as they do wear out. The grant allowed TPD to purchase 4 new body-worn cameras to replace the old faulty units. So every officer has a body-worn camera. We have for years, but we got new updated ones. Anytime we go on a call, it's always recording, so we can never be, complain on and say we did something we didn't do. If that is, we've got it on audio and video. Sergeant Robbins worked with the department's technology vendor, Axon, to purchase a drone and implement a drone program in conjunction with the new software and storage for the drone footage, body-worn camera footage, and vehicle crash footage, or vehicle dash camera footage, The new drone will be beneficial for search and rescue purposes, monitoring and documenting canine tracks, measuring crime and crash scenes, locating fleeing suspects, providing critical public safety functions during large crowd events, and the roles within public relations. Officer Michael Firks is a certified drone pilot through the FAA and will be the department's primary pilot. I think this drone is going to be a huge asset for the department. Pork Festival, events downtown, accident scene, crime scenes. God forbid we ever have a missing kid or anything like that anytime. But we can get that up and start looking around, and it'll be a huge asset. Captain David Nichols and Sergeant Robbins researched, selected, and installed an updated surveillance camera system within the department's facilities. This camera is reporting 24/7 with indoor and outdoor cameras and in secure areas. The department had never really had a camera system within it. They reached out to me and asked if it would be something we'd be interested in looking into. They picked the camera system, they installed the cameras, and it's already worked out to our benefit. As you know, Officer Maddox was involved in an accident a few weeks back, and it was right in front of the police department. That outside camera picked up the whole accident. You'll review it, see what happened. They're great. They'll protect the department. The department deployed 2 new patrol vehicles. These vehicles were 2022 Ford Explorers from Tipton Ford. The graphics of the vehicles were designed and installed by Hoosier Side Guy here in Tipton. The new vehicles each boast a Whelen emergency light and siren package, Havis controls and computer equipment, Motorola radio equipment, which was all installed by American Eagle. So I know that was a lot right off the bat, and that's why I made sure you all had a copy of this. But like I said this morning, these gentlemen sitting over here, the other officers and staff at the police department, they make my job easy. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am. They make you guys look good. They make him look good. They make our community look good. So I really want to acknowledge them, let you guys know all their hard work throughout the year. It might not always be seen, might not hear the good things. So that's why I asked you on the agenda tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sarge.
Thank you.
I'll applaud you.
Thank you very much, Chief. And as I'd said earlier in Board of Works, we're very blessed to have the police force that we do here in Tipton. It's clear they rise far above what's expected of normal day-to-day activities in the community, what they provide here in Tipton. So thank you for all that you do and all that you're committed to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we need all the help we can get looking good, so just keep it up.
Recognizing that there's an issue that came out of the Board of Works, and this is probably as good of a point as anything to mention that. And there again, I know with busy schedules and things, don't feel obligated to stay for the entire meeting.
Yeah, if you want to wrap that up, that's fine. If you have any questions for me or whatever you need to do.
Got it. What the situation was, if you remember budget time wise, we had 3 vehicles that we had approved for the police force. Two vehicles for the police force that came to a total of $71,000. And the expectation was that those were funded out of our ARP funds. They were pulled out of the police budget and paid for out of ARP. My understanding is the vehicles that we were trying to secure are not available this year. So what Chief has asked is that we switch. The expectation was that his administrative vehicle was going to be replaced in '24. So that vehicle is available at a very nice price of $37,420.
37,420.
So he's asked that we go ahead and authorize that purchase, and then with the expectation that we'll go ahead and purchase the other cruisers as they become available, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Which is 2024.
Which is 2024. And we went ahead and approved that exchange, that purchase at the Board of Works, pending approval of the council that we were okay with that switch in the budget use of ARP funds. So at this time, I'd open that for questions. We've got Chief here, or if just a simple motion to go ahead and use those funds.
I'll make the motion to go ahead and use those funds for that vehicle purchase.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Who seconded it?
Rick did.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you for everything,
Thank you.
Chief. And thank you again for recognizing all the important things that the department does over and above.
Absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Take care,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda, Board of Works and Safety. Rick, is there anything else that you'd like to report on from today?
Just that Chief Bittner had give his bi-monthly report. And the Enforcement Division had a couple problems that they brought to us, and we have requested that those problems appear at our next meeting. And that was pretty much it.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Golf Advisory Committee.
Golf advisory, we did not meet. We won't meet again until next month.
Got it. Goodwill Committee, we are meeting later this week. Solid Waste Board meets next Monday. Street, Alley, and Sidewalk meets Thursday. Plan Commission.
It was canceled, so it won't meet until February.
Got it. Utility Board. Rick.
Utility Board, thank you. We did met on January 17th. Claims and charge-offs were approved. It was a pretty short meeting. I'll just highlight just a couple items. On the safety side of things, the city and the TMU employees had their first monthly safety meeting back on Wednesday, the 18th. Certainly a good thing, and I highly encourage that. It's good to have safety being top of mind. Also, as far as the connector project goes, Jim Ankrum and Scott Reeser attended the design kickoff meeting at Wessler's Carmel office on Monday, January 9th. An updated design, bidding, construction, anticipated schedule was presented to the board and discussed. And there's some more details about that. And then the last thing I wanted to report was on the US 31 State Road 28 development front. TMU had been informed by the county that the proposed 71-acre development there is expanded via property acquisition. Now will be a 200-plus acre development there in the southeast coordinate of US 31 and State Road 28. So that's all I've got for the Utility Board report, Mr. Mayor.
I have a question concerning that issue, the last one. So when it says it's expanded via property acquisition, my understanding is that Mrs. Nash has not sold her property. There's not a bill of sale nor a promise to sell yet. So the wording on this leads me to believe that they are stating that it is a done deal already. So what do you know about that?
I just know what was reported in the meeting. I have not heard from Mrs. Nash or anything because I know the utilities and county government was involved in that, Sophie. So I only know what was being reported here in these minutes as well.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, what do you know about this?
I don't know anything about that, quite honestly.
Okay. Well, I just want to state that from conversation, this property has not sold of the 200 plus acres or the 100 and something. So I'm not in these meetings, and I was hoping Jim would be here today because usually he is. But you don't know anything more.
I don't. Nope.
All right, thank you.
Good. Thanks very much for that report, Rick. Is there any other committees or boards that would like to report at this time? If there's not, next up on the agenda, Steve Raber has been kind enough to ask to be on the agenda to provide us an update on our trails effort.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and I talked the other day and thought it would be appropriate to give you a little update. First, I want to talk a little bit about we got this, the bicycle and pedestrian planning grant. You may remember that was from the Indiana Department of Health. It was a $30,000 grant, no match on our part at all. And it is to take a look at bicycle and pedestrian routes within the city. The county then also decided to participate for a few more dollars. And so now it will be for the entire county. A steering committee was formed, and of course we hired a consultant and have been working on this. Some of you attended a stakeholder introduction that we had. That was followed by community input from a meeting at Sharpsville, a meeting at Windfall, a meeting at the foundation here, and then we also participated, as you could testify, at the farmer's market.
You were there.
In January, yes. So we get a lot of good input from that. Plus, we also took a look at the downtown revitalization plan because it talked about bicycle and pedestrian. So we're moving along well on this. We have another meeting coming up, the steering committee, on the 26th, this Thursday. And that will pretty much finalize all the input. Then on February the 9th, we will have a public presentation for the county people at the Sharpsville gym. And on February 15th, we will have the presentation for within the city here at the foundation.
What day?
February 15th. I would recommend, I'd like to see those of you who could make it at least on the 15th to stop out. It will be from 6 to 7:30 is what we're saying, but the presentation will start at 6 o'clock. Presentation will probably take 30, 45 minutes. Then we'll have some different stations set up around the room where if anybody has questions, comments, any of that, we can address those. We think that's a better way to do it than just have a mass of people trying to ask questions at the same time. When that is done, then on March 16th, we'll have a final steering committee meeting where everything will be pretty much make sure that everybody's on the same page, that we like the plan that we've ended up with. What will happen after that is it will end up coming to you folks for your approval, and it will be then an amendment, I guess you could say, or an attachment to the comprehensive plan, which just gives you guys, or whoever is sitting in this chair in the future, if we're looking at bicycle or pedestrian routes through the city, it gives you a roadmap. This is what the community and experts have said. These are places where we need to focus on bicycle or pedestrian routes. So that's kind of the whole thing. Anybody, any questions on that? I hope you can make it out for the presentation out there, because that'll give you a last chance to say, I don't like this, or it should say this. So that would be your opportunity before it comes back to you for your approval.
Steve, so there won't be any further work done in the park until after this is all completed?
A whole separate thing. Phase 2 of the trail is a whole separate thing. I will touch on that briefly if everybody's.
I want to
Please.
ask you about 316 though. Is that going to be in the city, that meeting at the foundation also? Your final meeting on the 16th?
The 16th,
Will that be in the city
Yeah,
that you'll do the foundation?
Right.
Okay.
yes. Questions? Anybody else? I'll talk just a minute about phase 2 of the trail. As you know, we were ready to go and then they decided to do the shelving project, which I think it looks nice. They did a nice job on it. But that slowed us down a lot. Then we got started on that and we had information, need to go to NDOT. They have to put their blessing on it because it is federal money that comes forward to the state. And so NDOT gets to look at different things. I think I've shared with something before, they're kind of shorthanded down there. And any project within the state comes to them and they hand them in the order that they can get it. They had a couple questions, they came back to us. We thought we had them all answered. Evidently, we found out recently that they had a couple other questions. I believe as of today, those have been addressed. So NDOT should, by the end of this week, first of next week, I'm told, give us a final blessing. At that point, we have to open it up for public comment. That's just a requirement, which means there'll be an ad run in the paper. And I don't know exactly what the time frame is going to be on that, but I think we have to give about 30 days for people to make public comment. The people that will make public comment most likely would be the people that would be affected by it. And that would be, we still call it Miller's Mary Manor, the Oasis Church, and of course the dentist on down on the end. Those are the main ones. Everything else is either city or county property, and we've already addressed that. Our consultant has the bid documents basically ready to go, unless we do any final tweaks on it. So as soon as we get through public comment, we will put it out for bid. Hopefully the bids come in somewhere in a reasonable frame. He says that he has seen some prices starting to creep down a little bit from where they were. So maybe the delay that we've had is not necessarily a bad thing. And once the bids are completed and back in and we select, probably be a Board of Works who would select, that would actually end up making a decision on who would be doing the work.
Probably.
I believe. Anyway, once that's done, we'll be ready to start construction. I'd say late spring, early summer, depending on what you want to call the season change. And as you know, if you remember from phase 1, the construction itself does not take very long.
Yeah.
So hopefully by midsummer, all that through the park will be done and be ready for use. Sometime I would like to have a little ribbon cutting when we get to that point. I think we all deserve it. We've all waited patiently for this.
I was going to ask, so
Yes.
so the delay isn't going to reduce the scope of the project any, you're hoping?
We
Depending on the
hope,
quotes? Okay.
yeah.
If it does reduce that, where do you know where you're going to?
We do. We're trying not to even think about that because we don't want to reduce the scope. What we told DNR that we would build was through the park up to where it connects to, well, I'm still calling it 19, and then headed west behind Miller's and down to Golf Course Road. But what we told them originally was that we were going to stop just past Doctor's Park, where there's that little county property. They have told us we could create a small trailhead there. And then when DNR was here, they said, guys, it'd be nice if you could go all the way. But per our grant agreement, we can stop if we need to. At that point, I don't want to, but that is an option. We are not obligated to go the extra distance. It would just make DNR happy if we could go all the way to Golf Course Road, and a lot of us happy. It makes sense because that sets us up for
The next.
future.
Yeah.
You know, theoretically, I would like to see it hook in at some time to the new disc golf course, for example. Find a way to do that so that you're hooking amenities together. Questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you for all your work on trails, Steve.
I'm glad to do it.
Next up, under old business, we've got on the list there county council appointments.
Yes, and I can go ahead and take that, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like. I made a mistake. The Department of the DSW appointment actually does not expire until the end of this year, not the end of last year. So Nate is still appointed in that position, and I know he had expressed maybe some concerns about being able to serve because of some conflicts during that day and time. And if and when he should choose to resign that position, we would look at filling it then. But as of right now, that position is filled through the end of this year, and I apologize for that mistake.
Got it. And I think Nate had offered if anybody wants or is interested in taking his spot on that position, that he would be open to that.
And I would be open to discussing that with him when he returns, Mr. Mayor, to see what all it entails of, but I would certainly consider taking that appointment if he should decide to leave that post, pending some discussion.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. There's a couple appointments that I wanted to share with the council. If you don't have any other ones, folks that we like to accept positions again, we'd like Dr. Joanne Burke to continue with Area 5 Council on Aging. Would also like Michelle Owens to continue in her position on City Plan, and would like her to continue with the appointment to the City BZA as well. Mr. Cliff Reagan also would like to continue on the City BZA. John Kroom on the City Golf Advisory Committee, City Park Advisory Board. Jade Crawford would like to continue on that. On the City Plan Commission, I've asked Mr. Michael Spurlock to accept the position that David Clark had held, and would also,
Wait. Can we pause a moment?
if I can get through the list here, then
Sure.
if you'd like to make comment to it. And there again, these are my appointment to positions. Okay.
That's fine.
What was that last position?
City Plan Commission.
Is that what you were talking about?
And then the 3 city RDC positions. I intend to serve again on that. Ask Mr. Brent Carden to serve on it, and ask Michael Nasser to serve as well. And the cemetery board appointments, I think I suggested Rick was willing to serve again on that. Tom Pfeiffer and Tammy Brown as well, I've asked. And additionally, I have asked Dylan Muse to also fill a position on the Plan Commission as well. And there were a couple folks that we are replacing because of other commitments and inability to make meetings and things like that. I've been asked to maybe move some folks to alternate spots and appoint some folks that could more regularly attend those meetings. So that's what I've got this evening.
Okay, can I loop back around?
Yep.
Planning Commission, since we didn't meet, so Dylan Muse we had a position for another one. Okay, let me back up. David Clark has resigned.
I'm replacing him on it because of, I would like Mr. Spurlock to serve on that. And there again, David's got a lot of other commitments and things like that. So I'm trying to ask folks that can more regularly attend meetings.
Okay, and this Dylan Muse is also going to be on the Planning Commission?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and what people are you going to ask her to be would you say a backup?
Alternate.
Who are those people?
I think attendance wise, there's somebody from that the commissioners have as an appointment that we're replacing because he couldn't make all the meetings. And I think Dan also has a lot of things that he's not able to make meetings for. So
Okay, isn't the commissioner appointment Jim Purvis?
commissioner appointment.
Isn't that what you say? They have one that,
He's a liaison.
okay, so who's the commissioner?
Aaron, Mr. Coe.
And then Dan Cavasser.
Very important board, and we just plain need folks that are able to attend. So
It just that we hadn't met, so it was all new to me. And since I've served, it's like, okay, fill me in. That's really all I want to know.
got it. Yep. Next up, mayor's report. What I would ask my NDOT relations representative, Jane Harper. There was some recent information in the paper. Vicki was kind enough to post potentially where four-way stops would go. And Jane has been instrumental in coordinating efforts with NDOT as far as improving downtown. So we're hoping that we are on the front side of a very nice renovation of downtown as far as a plaza. So Jane.
I didn't know I was up yet, so I'm prepared, but the mayor did not ask me to attend. I offered, and since the report in the paper, there have just been so many favorable comments about those additional stop signs that I thought that I would address some of the comments. Actually, I haven't heard anything or read anything that was accurate. So because so many comments and things that I've heard are without any basis in reality, then I think it's time to set the record straight so that you all know how it got to this point. And someone once told me that in the absence of facts, perceptions influence opinions, and that's what's happened here. So I wanted you all to know that nothing was entered into willy-nilly or without many, many hours of discussions, meetings, and thoughts. And my opinion is that all of you are doing what you're doing as representatives of your constituents. And so you are elected to make the decisions. And although I believe that public input is important, I think that the research that has been done by the elected officials in an attempt to make the best decision for the community is the first and foremost thing that has to be considered. So I wanted to tell you that in February of 2020, there was a meeting in the Canton Room. Several NDOT officials were here, and the mayor asked me to come to the meeting because I have had a lot of good relationships with many NDOT people. So at that time, we heard that Jefferson Street was going to be reconstructed, a total pavement replacement. And if you've all been to Frankfurt, you may know what that entails, what that looks like. And you also know that I am a complete historian. I love the history of Tipton County. I think it's important that we preserve the history of Tipton County. And so my question was, well, how, when you do a total pavement replacement, then what does that entail? What happens? So they told us that they basically come through with an excavator and they excavate out everything to about 24 to 30 inches. And because I knew that the first brick street in Indiana was in Tipton, Indiana, that concerned me because I said, what's going to happen to the first brick street in Indiana? And they said, well, the excavator will be going through and the bricks will just be flying everywhere. So that bothered me because I had really wanted that to be preserved in some way, whether it be excavating the bricks and using them somewhere else for pedestrian traffic or just in some way to commemorate that Tipton had the first brick street in Indiana. And by the way, at one time, Tipton had more brick streets in Indiana than any other city in Indiana, And now we have the least, which is 0. So that started some discussions over whether or not this was a historic property that maybe NDOT needed to take a closer look at as far as whether or not they even could do that, to rip up something like that. So 2020 then we were hit with the virus, things shut down. So not a lot happened then, but then talks began to resume. And it was basically a point where, how can we maybe just preserve that part of Jefferson Street, which is 2.5 blocks, and then the rest of it NDOT would keep ownership of. So as these talks progressed, they told us that if we were to do something different with that 2.5 blocks, then the city would need to own it. So that's when we first heard, what is a relinquishment? So this then continued on to talk about, well, if that's relinquished 2.5 blocks, maybe we need to think about, does the city want to take over more than that? And so we would give you the money that we would spend, and then you could use that money as leverage for grant matches. So the money that we give, the millions that we would give the city, could then be used for an 80-20 match, which the city's contribution is 20. So you could actually do more with the money than they were going to be doing with the money, but it would be spread out over a five years. So in order to do that, some things needed to happen, and I just wanted to read you. People also know that I keep everything. So this is from 2020. Their report said that Jefferson Street had poor drainage, poor subgrade, and existing brick pavement under the hot mix that is the cause for very rapid pavement deterioration. So that's why it was on their schedule to do next year. They were going to let it in 2023 and do the pavement replacement in 2024 because they knew how it was deteriorating. And so we would look like Frankfurt did. So imagine the comments that you would be reading about then. So what happened then was they said, one thing you will have to do if you wanted to go through this relinquishment and you need to buy some time is that you have to get the semi-traffic out of Tipton because that's what's causing the deterioration. So then that evolved into a meeting in July of 2021 where several county and city officials were present in the Greenfield District Office. And the thought then was presented to go from the fast food corner all the way to 560 and involve the county. So that's really the first day that thought was born. And so from there were many negotiations back and forth on who would get what and you know what maybe we could add to the pot to make it more attractive and hopefully, and I'm on them every week or so, that they have promised to put a left turn light at the Casey's, CVS, McDonald's corner to the bypass. They've agreed to replace some markings. They've agreed to now reconstruct the bridge on 19 so that the hill that you see at CVS, you know, you probably all noticed that that's not the most favorable thing to have when people are turning in and out there. So we came up with a lot of commitments. The county agreed to some things, the city agreed to some things, NDOT agreed to things. And so many of them were declare Division Road the truck route, get the trucks out of the city of Tipton, and the city of Tipton then also needs to develop an ordinance so that that can be enforced. So what I wanted to tell you was that the NDOT then put in what they call a CARS system, which is a thing where all the truckers know what the routes are, where the detours are, and they are told where they should go. So right now, they're really supposed to be using 26. But as you all know, even you do it yourself when you see a detour, if you know a shorter way, that's what you'll do. So that was tried for a while, and you still see semis in Tipton. So then the next thought is to put stop signs and make this, because really now Jefferson Street is no different than North Street or any other street in Tipton. And they were going to take the stoplight out at Independence anyway. Even if NDOT remained ownership of this stretch, they were going to take that stoplight out. The other thing to remember too is that during the reconstruction in 2024, NDOT was going to replace all the stoplights if they kept those. So this one here on Main and then the other two, and maybe they would remove that one. The cost of that is between $200,000 and $300,000 to replace one light. The maintenance on those are $8,000 a year. So there again, if you keep them, you need to know that they're going to need to be replaced soon. They don't last forever. And so that's a cost. And then the upkeep is a cost that needs to be figured in. So when you think of Jefferson Street now as just a street like maybe North Street, then there's really no reason to have stop lights 3 blocks in a row. And if you also, I'm sure you have noticed that many times they're not calibrated like you would like for them to be, especially this one right here. And I'm always calling about that too. And they come out and say they fix it. And that's the other thing is the maintenance. There's no one in the city that really has the qualifications to work on these lights. So, but the main reason is, those are secondary things. The big reason is to get the semi-traffic that uses Jefferson Street as a thoroughfare to go from 31 to 69 out of Tipton. And they have options. So they can go Division Road and use what is the designated truck route. So it was not, this decision or this proposal was not made just, on a whim. There's a lot of facts and reasonings behind doing this. The other thing that you've heard about is the four-way stop at the park. And I will say that, and no one knew about it. We didn't either. We didn't know about it either. That was something that was a failure on NDOT's part, that we knew it was coming. We didn't know it was going to be Wednesday at 10 a.m. So we were surprised with that too. So, they can blame a lot of people, but that one actually was NDOT's fault. And that is going to be a proposed roundabout. We will know the funding for that in May. The city will not have any cost at all. So that's another misconception out there, is that it's going to cost money. Unless, and I hope this really does happen, that if the city would like to have some enhancements, which I do think that that's something that the city should consider. It will now be sort of a gateway, and you should have some enhancements and, make it really attractive. So that would be something that you could do. And just for your information, the other roundabouts proposed are, one has been funded at 213 and 28. And that is, the construction year for that is 2027. So it was stated in a public meeting a couple of weeks ago that it was 2024 or 2025. That is not true. It's 2027. Everything with NDOT is 5 years out. So if you apply now, it's 5 years. So the one at the park, then if it is funded in May, then that would be 2028. And then the other one that is going to be, that's asked to be funded by NDOT is at Division Road in 19. And I think, even though that's not city, I just think you should be aware of it and know that I think that's a huge improvement, because there's a little oddity about the road that's a little off, and there were 2 teenagers killed there at Christmas. And I think that's really a positive thing. The landowner luckily is the same on all 4 corners. And they're very, very receptive to it. So that is, that's the roundabout story. And I wanted to say too, that the comments that I've heard and read, it seems like people may think that this is an oddity. And, Tipton's is doing this, and no one else has ever done it. And I will tell you that there are many, many communities in Indiana that have done relinquishments. I've talked to many mayors who say that the only way to get, and many of them are because they want to get the truck traffic out of Tipton. In fact, in the first meeting in 2020, the mayor's, one of his first questions was, how do I get the truck traffic out of Tipton? And the response was, that's what every mayor says. So it's not unusual at all. Many of them go through these relinquishments. If you're ever in Franklin, Indiana, you see State Road 44. They did a relinquishment, that the area that they refurbished, and it's just beautiful. Like I said, I don't know if you've been there, but you should take a trip there to see what you can do with some of the relinquishment money to make your downtown more pedestrian friendly and comply with the downtown revitalization plan as a more of a walking area than having semis blow by all the time. But one of the things that other mayors have done is what Mayor Dolezal is wanting to do, and that is put stop signs, because that's going to stop the truck traffic from wanting to come. Because your law enforcement people cannot do this. They can't be sitting there stopping every semi, or is this a local delivery? Because of course you allow Dollar General, you allow Park 100 Foods, you allow CVS, you have to allow the local deliveries. What you do not have to allow are the ones that take 28 or Jefferson Street as the thoroughfare. So it's not an unusual concept. And I actually think that they should all go. I'm not even now in favor of even the one at the courthouse staying as a stoplight. I think it should just all be stop signs. But with the traffic study, you'll know, what they recommend and because they're going to be able to tell you how many, the timing between stop signs and how many cars could get through so that there won't be a big backup. So that'll be good to have that. And I hope it's already in the works and going so that we can get on this soon. Because as I've stated, every day that the semis are still going through Tipton is one day closer to that road failing. And if it fails before the 5 years, because so the city applied for an LPA grant to help to do the reconstruction. If it fails before the 5 years, if you get the grant and it fails before that, I don't know what you'll have to repair it. So I just wanted to clear the air, and if you have any questions for me,
Well,
I'd be
thank
happy-
you very much.
happy to answer those.
I truly appreciate all that information. Some of it I did not know. I wasn't aware of.
I do as well. I do have a couple questions, Jane, if you're
Okay.
okay with that.
Sure.
One thing that I hear over and over again, as you see comments through the community, is that bridge over the bypass was never meant to handle truck traffic, and they make reference to signs saying no trucks allowed. Can you talk a little bit about that, if you would?
Well, the no trucks allowed had nothing to do with the quality of the bridge.
Okay.
The no trucks allowed really is because it was a bypass. It was built as a bypass for school traffic and hospital traffic. That's what it was there for. The bridge, NDOT evaluated the bridge, and it's amazing how many engineers we do have in Tipton that are able to say that the bridge will not handle truck traffic. But actually, the NDOT engineers would not have taken that on as their road now if that bridge was compromised in any way. So they feel confident that it's okay for now. However, they are, in their plans, they are planning to redo that bridge and to make it more level so
Okay.
that, as I said on the CVS, the right in and right out will not be so dangerous, because I'm sure you've all seen that
Sure.
it's, it's an accident area that could happen. So no, the bridge is fine.
Okay. And then just the other question I have, and this is also a prevailing comment that you hear out there from some of the citizens, is with all these changes, we may get the truck traffic out of our downtown, but how do we ensure that it doesn't get our car traffic out of the downtown? Because if someone's going, for example, from Alexandria over to Frankfurt, or they're wanting to catch 65, or they're wanting to head north, we would still like to see those vehicles continue to travel through our downtown and to see exactly what a beautiful city we have. Has it been your experience, or what you've heard from these other communities, that this will inhabit the car traffic that would transverse east to west just like it does now?
Not at all. I've not heard that at all. In fact, most mayors have told me that people like coming to those cities because it is the feel of it is more friendly. It's a more pedestrian friendly type area. And, you know, the nostalgia is that, and I know that some people don't like brick streets or brick walkways, or I do, but many cities are going to that, and it just makes it kind of like a step back in time that many people now are yearning for. So Tipton being a small town, I think this is something that they could add that would make it actually more attractive to people to come to the city of Tipton, to know that. And I've heard people say, you know, they don't even feel safe crossing the street, middle of the street, which maybe they're not supposed to do that, but because of the semis are going through there. I have had personal experiences that I really won't go into, but I know that maybe you have too. Semis have been notorious for running red lights. So if they are a half a block away and it's just turns yellow, they're not going to stop. They're going through. And so I feel like that they're really abusive in that way too, that they're not respectful of our city and of our residents who are already maybe in the intersection and have to, you know, avoid that.
Jane, do you know, like at Jefferson and East Street, I've watched with Park 100 employing so many employees, a lot of them cross street to go to Babalu's, East Street Provisions, now that there's places to eat and go to, and it is pretty dangerous if they could shoot across that fast enough. You have the police there on the corner, fire on the corner. Do you know, are they going to be four-way stops, or they are going to be four-way stops? I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, they're already stopped on the north-south, so it'd just be
Yes.
adding a stop sign.
Great, great. I think that'd be really good for the businesses and the pedestrians,
So-
especially there. That's something I witness a lot more often.
So these, I think there were 7 maybe were just proposed, and hopefully the engineering firm can either, you know, say that that's enough and that's good, or it's too many or whatever. That I know that you'll make your decision because you have to pass an ordinance or something. You'll make your decision based on those facts. But as maybe you hear things, I hope that you will dispel some of these rumors and perception. Did you have anything else? Rick?
No, I just appreciate those answers and all this information. It clarifies a lot. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your work with NDOT, Jane. Sincerely do. She's done a great job getting results from them. I would just simply share that the concept of getting semi-traffic out of the city is not a new one. Mayor Havens shared with me that at one time there was actually a 3-city committee that included Elwood and Alexandria, that they used to meet on a regular basis trying to discuss a solution to where things were and how possibly Division Road could serve all 3 of the communities. So I wish Elwood and Alexandria continued success with it. You get the right people working on a project, and I think what we've shown, we can get things done. So thank you for everything you've done. Vicki?
When did the traffic study actually start,
Within the last couple of weeks here.
and how much is it going to cost?
I don't have that exact amount. Kind of comes down to what all they need to include with it. So we're also going to do something of a parking study too. Around the courthouse, there's been suggestions about if we had some type of time limit to parking, that the merchants could be better served downtown. So we're analyzing that as a possible solution to helping businesses downtown. So next up, Abby. We've got resolution 2023-02, which is a preliminary resolution declaring an economic revitalization area and supporting property tax abatement for Tipton Wilson properties, if you would be so kind.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So I have Russ Kirshner here with me with HP Alloy, so I'll give the update, and then if you have questions, I know he's happy to answer them if you have any. So this briefing is about Russ Kirshner, owner and CFO of Tipton Wilson Properties, also known as HP Alloys. applying for a real property tax abatement from the city of Tiflin for their planned expansion, their business at their current location. I was connected with Kirchner by the city clerk, Tim Clark. Great job, Tim. Crush it. And we sent the application to review and prepare this briefing and preliminary resolution for the Common Council. I reviewed the information submitted by Kirchner, and I used the tax abatement rubric, scheduled a meeting with Kirchner to tour the facility and answer clarifying questions, consulted with Steve McKinney of the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance, City Attorney Matt Quigley, Community Development Consultant Veritas Group, and the City Clerk Treasurer Tammy to prepare the briefing and resolution before you. So the results of which, the general description of the investment, HP Alloys manufactures bar stock of varying diameters, forging it into different sizes as needed by customers. The company receives the materials, stores, forges, and prepares for shipping in-house, including the preparation of their custom shipping containers. They're expanding into new markets where customers are finding it difficult to source smaller diameter bar stock. In order to increase capacity, they have purchased additional machines requiring more space. They also need additional storage space for the materials. They have designs and have begun initial phases of an estimated $2.7 million investment, doubling their current footprint with the expansion to the east of their current location. I just received word that actual investment has gone up since this was prepared to over 3.5. The plans include mitigation for noise, drainage, and parking. They include enough room for current expansion needs and future needs. 5 jobs will be created within the first year after completion of the project, 3 at $30 an hour and 2 at $25 per hour with health benefits and retirement. So just keep in mind when you're reviewing this, that those also generate tax revenue for the city. So their application for tax abatement score, following that rubric, reviewing the information submitted, the company scored a 55 to 75. This score puts the company at the high end of the mid-range abatement, resulting in my recommendation of an 8-year real property tax abatement. Happy to take questions.
Just to share the process, there's a preliminary resolution that introduces the proposal, the recommended tax abatement to it, and then there's actually a formal resolution that would be the second step of the procedure.
So what you have in front of you is establishing an economic revitalization area and the preliminary resolution, as the mayor said. And then if you approve that, we'll publish public hearing notice and then have that hearing and the final confirming resolution be reviewed at the next city council meeting.
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Kirschner, if everything is approved, when would construction start? And
We don't have a bank loan yet, so maybe as early as March.
What did he say? I'm
As
sorry.
early as March.
is there-
This was a great summary. Wonderful job explaining things, Abby. The interview obviously was very thorough. I would ask, and I think Mr. Kirschner, if he could just share a little bit of perspective to it. I would like to say on behalf of the community, you've been a wonderful employer in the community. Thank you for your investment and your considered investment in additional facility here in the community.
Thank you. We've been going through a growth spurt. We increased our revenues 31% last year. We went from 15 million and a half to 20.3 million just in last year. We would have had more sales if we had more inventory. Unfortunately, because of supply chain issues, we've our inventory is empty because we can't get it in quick enough. We've upped our purchases to the point where we're buying twice what we would have bought last year. So we're going through a huge growth spurt. We're looking at 80 weeks before we get our material when we order it from our vendors. So that's almost a year and a half. We're going to need to have the ability to process the material ourselves. We could buy coil and then draw it down into a smaller, thinner wire, straighten it and cut it to length. By doing so, we're cutting out the mill, who I said was 80 weeks. We could do this in a matter of a month. So that's going to allow us to fill in the markets that have shortages of certain diameters. Last year alone, we went from 69 employees to 79 employees. And with this additional equipment, we could see another 10 within 2 years. A year for development of the building, and then another year after that to get the equipment running. We would have the 10 employees.
Thank you. Terrible problem to have, isn't it?
So with the storage units that you're going to have on the site, so that way you can definitely order what you need from supply chains, get them where you could store them, and then you would not be in the rears trying to catch up, you'd be in the surplus working
Right.
through.
We bought equipment and it's operational, so we have increased our operational sizes that we can make. But we don't have enough room on the floor to have them permanently mounted. Right now, we take them, put them up on the shelf, and the next size we're working on, we set it down and we do the sizes, it works on there. We got that, we put it back up on the shelf.
Okay,
With this plan, we'll have all the floor space we need,
great.
because we're going from 48 to 96,000 square feet, which is a huge jump. But 10 years ago, we doubled the size from 24 to 48, and it didn't last us long enough.
Good problem.
Yes.
Thank you.
I appreciate your commitment to the city of Tipton, Mr. Kirschner, and I know that establishing this tax abatement would help you some with the upfront costs, which certainly is always one of the biggest things to doing an expansion like this, and that it would lead to long-term growth, both for you and for a viable community partner here in the city of Tipton. So based on that, I'm going to make a recommendation that we adopt Resolution 2023-02 as presented.
First reading, correct?
Just
First
one,
read.
it's the only reading.
It's the only reading?
Yeah, because it's a resolution, so there's only one reading.
Okay, I'll
Now,
second.
then you'll have a final resolution after the public hearing for this.
Okay, I'll second it.
Probably moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Abby, great work on this. You made the decision very easy.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I have questions on claims. You want them now or you want them after Rick has done his spiel?
I would ask for him after Rick does his spiel.
Okay,
All right.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I will move that we approve claims for payment, claims 172808 through 173008 in the amount of $3,718,570.29.
okay,
I need a second. Second. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Ken.
okay. Before you vote,
What questions would you have?
page one. Page one. APV 17281. I think I put my line right in. I think it says 8, I don't know if it's 818. Tipton Utility Service Board. I struggle with this being miscellaneous at the tune of $1,012,913.42. What is miscellaneous? That is $1 million.
Are you talking about where it says electric cash operating miscellaneous?
Mm-hmm.
That is, the utility board has claims that they approve and the utility board approves. This, whenever we, at the end of the month, we do a transfer with all of the utility claims and put them in our system. So basically, the claims are approved by the utilities, but we don't process them claims until the end of the month. And then we put the claims that they issued or processed, then we put them in our system so it all comes together with the city and utility as a whole.
Okay, so then they've already reviewed those claims before they ever did that. And I had never noticed $1 million before.
Well, it's because, this one is up front,
Yeah,
because some of them are in the back, because at our last meeting, we only included them from January 1 of 2023 to up to our council meeting date. And when it was a lower amount, I'm like, oh, that's not right. Well, what it is we didn't pick up from our last council meeting date, which would have had the end of the month claims in it.
okay. All right, moving on, page 2. And I know this is going to end up for LRB grant, but the word overpayment, $20,937. Can you tell me what when I see overpayment, that means that they gave us money they shouldn't have given us and we need to give that back. Is that correct?
Okay, community crossing grant. It is estimated how much the project's gonna be. The community crossing grant, they approve based off of your estimate. Then the bid comes in, and then we go and have the project done. But the community crossing grant, you get that money ahead of time,
Okay,
based off of that percentage, the 80-20, or depending on what our percentage is. We get that amount ahead of time. So when we go and pay whoever the vendor would be, we pay them off of the claims that they turn in, and it was an underrun, basically. So they didn't use as much. So we have to give back their portion of that percentage.
understandable. Just want to make sure what I'm reading is what's happening.
What claim number was that?
On the second page.
172,817.
Okay.
Page 3, claim 172,820. City of Tifton, another miscellaneous. General unappropriated, $52,302.03.
15% of trash collection fees.
Yes, can you help me understand that?
So when we done an ordinance for trash, the percentage that all the trash money that we get, that the utility collects for us on your utility bill,
Yeah,
okay? So that money is put into the trash line in the general fund. And at the end of the year, we take that times 15%, I believe is what it is, okay? And we put that into the sanitation capital improvement fund, then that money is used to help offset the trash truck payment.
okay. Let's go to page 6. I promise you I'm almost done. Almost. Page 6. I know edit is at the discretion of the mayor, but I still will always ask. 172,972 Guardian Advocates Program Support. Is that a part of economic development?
Guardian Advocates, we've typically paid out of edit for,
I
she
know
comes
what it
in
is, but I've
and
not noticed it.
requests. Oh,
She comes every year and asks for.
Who is she? And I've
Yes.
never, is she come to the?
Was it Linda Johnson?
yes, it was Mrs. Johnson. And she was being replaced. I think the last time she came, she informed us she was going to be replaced by someone else.
Because she was retiring.
Mhm.
Okay,
And provides financial servicing and counseling to folks that can't afford it.
all right. Then we drop down. Project Coordinator ADA Transition. The next one, 172,973. I know HWC is that a legal or
was-
engineering?
That was project expenses with our ADA plan.
Page 7.
Slow down a little. I'm writing.
Skip page 7. Skip page 7. Let's go to the last page. Page 8, claim 173,004, 21,856. Wilson Outdoor Solutions. So this came out of the Gulf. Is this in it? I can see where it says they rented. Is that for a rental of that equipment? Because it lists hours.
No, they purchased that piece of equipment, but that piece of equipment had that many hours on that equipment.
Okay,
And they had traded in a mower and traded in, the dump truck.
okay.
And
And
that was
that was what's left that they needed to pay for what they purchased?
yes,
All right, thank you. Last one. Holman, Mark M. Holman, Inc., 3 of these at $10,800 total. The last 3 there, 173008. I know their landscaping, construction, multiple things is what their business is, but 10,800, it says grant match. So what are we matching? What's
it's the
rest of
bike
match?
pedestrian. The bike pedestrian grant that we've met. So much of the work has been done, and it was for November, December, and January's
Okay.
bill.
Great, thank you.
That was one where it's actually money to be reimbursed anyway from, that was $30,000.
Okay,
So we pay it, Tammy submits it to the Indiana Department of Health. They give her the full amount back.
excellent. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Public comment?
I would like to add that our ARP Advisory Committee, I had shared previously that Rick and Ken serve on that. I've asked Brent Carden as RDC president, Abby Smith, Jim Ankrum, and Tammy to also serve on that advisory committee. Just kind of an FYI to that board. Brings us to the last item. Before adjournment, is there any public comment? Please come forward. Let us know who you are, what you'd like to share.
Hi, my name's Caleb Clark, and I just have a comment or an issue to bring up about Canterbury Apartments. I know it's a name some of you are familiar with, for better or worse, probably worse. This issue doesn't personally affect me, but I felt like I need to come forward and bring it to the council's attention. 2 days before Christmas, a lot of our residents, largely senior citizens, people on HUD or fixed incomes, were told they have 3 months to move. And Canterbury or Kittle Property Group is going to buy out the rest of their rent, and they're to move. But there hasn't been any formal paperwork. They were told at a public meeting. But at least in the case of my neighbor, she hasn't gotten any kind of paperwork formalizing that. And I just didn't know if there was some sort of mechanism or any kind of like legal counsel these people could seek to try and fight this. Because in the case of my neighbors, a lot of them are elderly. They've lived in those apartments for 16, 17 years, and they don't have anywhere else to go.
I believe, Caleb, that I was seeing something here recently on news with there be a legal counsel and advocacy program out of Indianapolis that helps renters in these kind of situations with evictions. And I was unaware that you could be evicted without the proper in-mail signed eviction notice. But I would call down there and see if you can make a connection somewhere with that.
Okay.
Because I recently saw that, because there were a few people picketing in downtown about it.
Okay. Did you have the name of that group by chance?
Well, I'm pretty old. It'd take a while for me to retrieve it in my brain, but it'll come to me. And if it does, you give me your number, I will text you what I can find out for you.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Otherwise, I would just ask, like, am I in the wrong for seeking this? Because as I understand it, they have to receive some form of written.
Yes, that's
Intent.
my understanding with any kind of eviction. It has to be a written notice.
Did you say you don't actually live in Canterbury
I'm
Apartments?
not personally affected by the notices. I've heard it from my neighbors. I'm not one of the people who was told to move.
Got it.
I just felt like I just care about my neighbors. And I wanted
It's
to-
very admirable.
It's great to hear and interesting, the advocacy question about a claim. I think I'll go ahead and reach out and see if there's something that they can help with
Okay,
on
thank
a
you.
local level too.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was some pretty terrific women that helped really resolve issues at one time with Canterbury.
Mhm.
And whether that wore them out, they don't want any part anymore, I don't know. I might reach out to them and see if it's something they want to put a dog in the race for this.
I very much
Some
appreciate
of the elderly that did come to these meetings, unfortunately, a few of them have passed.
it. Mhm.
And so I'm not sure what group. They did unite and stirred a pretty good ruckus, and there was some changes, which was excellent.
Yeah.
But I know that the fallout from that was increased rents and threats that they were going to clean house of all the people who were there.
Mhm. So maybe this is a blowback from that.
Well, I'm just saying that they made that pretty clear. There was a number of threats, but, it is their property. They can exercise it at the will they see, but they still have to do it legally the right way.
Mhm. And that's all I'm asking for is just the right process. And if they have any kind of legal defense they can have or have their rights protected, I want to
Yeah.
help make sure they get that.
So we get you connected with an advocacy and a legal group that would know that, because I'm not skilled in any of that.
So, well, that's all. That's my piece. So,
I appreciate you bringing that forward, Mr. Clark.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Anyone else? Council? Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Tammy?
No, my hand's hurting.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Probably moved and seconded for adjournment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Ricky, were you the second?
Yes, he
I
was.
was going.
Did your-
Just- Everybody chooses.